Now, as the public works with the government to reduce the spread of coronavirus, the Defense Ministry-run Israel Institute of Biological Research is nearing human trials for a COVID-19 vaccine. But how can Israel complete the development of a vaccine in such a short time? Professor Jonathan Gershoni, professor of Immunology and Virology at Tel Aviv University, joins us to discuss. Professor, thanks for being with us. Now, let's start with the million-dollar question. When do you think an effective vaccine against the coronavirus will be available?
Well, I think that a lot of information is being given about the different phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and various technical aspects of the development of the vaccine. But I honestly believe that this isn't what the general public wants to hear. What people really want to know is, when can I roll up my sleeve, get a shot, kiss my grandkids, and go on vacation? That is to say, when can I go back to a normal lifestyle? And unfortunately, with all of the encouraging press releases, I do not believe that we'll have a functional vaccine that will service the general public much before a year. And if I'm wrong, then all the better. But I don't think that we should consider a vaccine being available neither in November or shortly in the beginning of 2021.
Okay. All right. Well, how long does it normally take to develop a vaccine, and why?
Well, I think there have been many discussions on this topic. In reality, typically the shortest vaccines that have been developed, and I think that's the case of mumps vaccine, took about 4 years, 5 years. Developing a vaccine requires not only having in-depth understanding of the cause of the disease, in this case SARS coronavirus 2, but also in the actual development of the concoction, the formula, the active ingredient, if you will, into a formula that is injectable, tested in animals, and then in people through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. And this takes time. We have to realize that we can't actually anticipate what kind of side effects may exist 12 months from now if we've only had the opportunity to evaluate some of the clinical trials now for the last 5 months at most. So we're going to have to be patient and let the regulatory process run its run.
So, okay, again, going back to Israel then, how can Israel claim to have reduced production time so dramatically?
I think, again, in reality, we have to listen to what's actually being declared by some of the political individuals and figures. All that was said was that the biological institutes now have a candidate vaccine, and they hope that after the high holy days, after Sukkot, they hope to be able to initiate human trials. The first trial is always a phase 1 clinical trial, which deals with the safety of the vaccine and typically given to a handful of people, no more than, let's say, 50, maybe 100. And these are the type of clinical trials that have already been completed for at least 5 or 6 companies worldwide. And today, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and of course Moderna are either gearing up or deep into phase 3 clinical trials encompassing some 30,000 people. Wow. And so, whereas I salute to the Biological Institute for coming up with a vaccine modality, I think we're definitely still a long way before we can proclaim that Israel has a vaccine of itself.
All right. Well, I think in the meantime, then, it's safe to say that masks and social distancing is still the way to go. All right. Thank you so much, Professor.